What's up, guys? This is Mike from Examiner.com here talking with Mr. Monty Oum. So, Monty, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Nice. So, Monty, how's RTX 2014 been for you so far?
It's pretty awesome. It's really awesome. Our Guardians are great this year. It's very well run. Like last year, like I signed for like 8 hours straight because we were like, what are we doing? So many people need signatures and they're not getting signatures. And now this time it's like the line's in and it gets done. I don't know how it gets done so fast, but it gets done, and all the panels are handled really well. It's really, really cool. They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of thanks to be given to all the behind-the-scenes people.
Right. So, do you have like a favorite panel that you've kind of looked at so far this year?
Well, the RTAA panel was pretty cool because I finally got to see the X-ray VAV project, which is funny because Jordan sits in the office behind me and I hear it happening, but every time I look at him, he's like no, and he just like blocks his monitor. And I'm like, Jordan, fine. But then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was been waiting forever for him to have like a project like that. And then there was a RWBY panel, which is great because everyone's work got to be put up on screen, and you get to see the audience reaction to not just the action stuff, but like all the awesome comedy stuff, which was really cool. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the RWBY panel. You just had the trailer that got released with that. So, how would you say that Volume 2 differs from Volume 1 in terms of approach or even just feel of it?
We're just better at doing it. So like because we have we have the stuff to build upon on top of Volume 1.
Right.
We're just doing it better, which it doesn't go on a bullet point of just saying this is why the season is better. It just is. It's just subtle things that you pick up in the back of your mind. It's like I feel like I'm watching something a lot more legitimate now, something that I can actually like be invested in.
Right.
Like in the past season, there were things that take you out of it a bit because it was the first season and we're really finding ourselves. This time around, we're just like we go right for the scene and it's right a lot sooner than it is, and we don't look back on it and say, oh, this is kind of embarrassing to watch. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, given that RWBY was kind of coming from you in the first place, how would you say that it's matched up to your original vision?
Like, my original vision was the trailers, right? Which there isn't much to say other than that, hey, let's have a lot of action and some cool girls. Like, it exceeds it in so many ways, and the things I want to do are such a longer investment on, like, I have this key sequence I want to do in Season 7. Let's get there. And, like, fuck, when are we going to get there? But, in the meantime, it's so much fun, the process of getting there, because I know by the time we get there, it'll be way better, because you'll actually be invested in it for the reasons you've known these characters for this long, or, much to, like, Red versus Blue, where you're just like, I can't believe we've gotten this far. We have to get there first, so we kind of take it a day at a time. I live in this split between Dreamland, what I wish I could do, and current day of we're doing this awesome thing.
Right.
So it's like two dreams at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I had a chance to talk a little bit to Barbara and Kara, and then later on I'll be talking to Lindsay. Did you have them in mind already when you kind of had this original idea for what you wanted RWBY to be?
When I first approached RWBY, I mean, think about Rooster Teeth as a company back then.
Right.
We were, Red versus Blue, it's like, Gus is Simmons, Jeff is Griff, and it's like, Bernie plays church. And I follow Bernie as a role model, say, okay, I need to do what Bernie did, let me follow his steps. I wrote a character with a lot of exposition as like the God character of the show, the guy who knows all and tells all, and it's like the story kind of revolves around. Right. That went out the window real fast because I can't act. I just play the quiet guy.
Right.
And then we casted Shannon as Ozpin, and it's like, wow, that's much better. And it just, but by the nature of him not being in the office, I can't like jive with him every day about what the exposition of the show is. But I'm with the girls every day, and I'm with Miles every day. I almost called him Jean, and but I get to talk to them about where I want to take this. And now Carrie has a character, and it's like we talked a lot about in the past year about the IHOP meetings and the 3 a.m.s that we would talk about the things we wanted to do, and those things are now coming to fruition. And every now and then I walk over to Gray or Carrie and I say, what if we did this? And then the next thing I know, the ball's churning, and like it's starting to happen, and it just starts as this really tiny idea of like, I'd like to go this way with it. So you see in the trailer, now we got big robots, and hey, there's like these new guys, and there's all these new characters, which was just a scribble on a napkin previously, and now it just happens. That's what it means to have a team. They just get things moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Monty, you're obviously a very artistic guy, so what made you pick animating in particular? How did you break into that field?
I've always liked things that move because it's fun. I mean, I remember doing like artwork and drawings and pictures when I was younger, thinking, well, I'll never be able to make movies, but could I at least make the still frame of each movie or a movie poster? And I would do Photoshop things or pictures and just draw the movies I wanted to make. But then I just got lucky in terms of the timing of, oh, computers are a thing, you know? Uh, and we're talking like 1994, you know, actually even earlier, like 1992, I had a Mac 2, and it had Super Paint and HyperCard. And I'm like, it would let me do like 4 frames of things. It was like animating in PowerPoint, but I actually could get things moving. Add about 14 years to that, and suddenly things are happening. Where you just keep trying and keep trying. Everyone who comes up, I just had an animation panel. They're like, how do I do what you do? I say, get started now, and maybe in 14 years you'll get lucky, and something will arise that makes your job a lot easier. Because that's what happened to me. I can't predict the future. I just know it'll happen. You know, time will pass, and collectively we're all getting smarter, and the technology makes it easier for me. If I had to start my path again today, it would not happen the same way. So I can't really give that advice other than say you just need to do it. Yeah.
And so, in regards to just do it and the advice that you give to other animators, how did you yourself get discovered by Rooster Teeth?
I did the just do it method. I made videos and they saw it, and it still happens this day. Not even in the same vein, but like we needed an animator for RWBY, and one of the animators, or the animator in charge of RWBY now, he just made animations, and we noticed him, and we picked him up and said, now you're animating for RWBY. Very similar path. And then the game happened. We knew we wanted to make a game. We were exploring how to make a game, but none of us had the time to put our brain to it. But this 19-year-old kid in Ontario did. He made the game, and my favorite thing about it is he didn't make the game and advertise every day, I'm making the game, here's this bit of it is done. He sat quietly for 5 months, made a finished product, and put it out there with a trailer, and we looked at it, and it's kind of a mantra I live by. Make it so good they have to say yes. If I had, when making Haloid, say, oh, here's a little bit, and then just leaked it out progressively, it wouldn't have been as impressive as had I done it all at once, which is what I did. I just made a finished product, beginning, middle, end, which is funny because if you actually watch Haloid, it's 3 minutes of credits, 3 minutes of action, 3 minutes of credits, but everyone remembers it as a 10-minute action movie because you remember it better than it is. So, like, if you can, make a finished product and just throw it out there. And I didn't know I was going to do what I did. I just made it. I made Haloid because I knew it would be good, not because I knew it would get me jobs. And that's what it did. It got me a job at Midway Games, and the next project, Dead Fantasy, got me a job at Namco Games. And all that time, Rooster Teeth was looking at me saying, he's doing all these great things, but he's getting all these really cool video game jobs. Someday, maybe we'll talk again, and that happened, and now I'm here.
So, in regards to the video game, and now Rooster Teeth is kind of getting on board with that development, is that something that you had yourself wanted to get involved with, or were you more interested in the movie and the series aspects?
Well, I was previously a game designer, and I love making games. Games are fun. They're great to make, but unfortunately, they also take a long time, and the nature of the game industry is kind of really tumultuous, where you get hired for a game, and then you get fired when the game is done. When we finished the game in Namco, I was like, hands up, yeah, we're done. But everyone else was like, oh, we're done. I did not know that meant you're going to lose your job. I thought that meant you move on to the next project. That wasn't cool, if you ask me, and it's never cool when I hire people that gets like almost all my animators are animators that get laid off from game companies, and then we hire them, and then I never like that. There's so many layoffs in the game industry, so we hire as many as we can. But I didn't never want to do that again, so I just knew Rooster Teeth was the right fit because they have a better path of just like knowing that you can do something good and hanging on to that ability. Yeah.
And were you a fan before you came to work for Rooster Teeth?
Oh, absolutely. I think my first episode of Red vs. Blue I watched when I was 22 years old in my brother's basement was episode 4. I was big into Halo at the time. It was this thing where it's like I heard about this game. I wasn't an Xbox kid. I was a PlayStation kid because I like more fighting games. I was especially into Tekken for a lot. But I was like, there's this new console that comes out, Xbox. I'm like, what is this? And the one game to play was Halo, and I started playing that. And, people would have their college LAN parties, and I would show up to those, or just the big thing to do was play Halo on a projector, And I was so into Halo, and just the funnest day me and my friends had back then was like, we finally got our hands on 4 Xboxes. Let's have a LAN party, and it was the craziest thing to wrangle 16 people together.
Right.
But being a Halo fan, I was like, oh, I naturally found this thing called Red versus Blue, and I was like, this is really funny. I can actually watch this and be invested in the characters because they're able to tell a story in something where I'm familiar with it, but also I can actually watch it and legitimately believe that these people were delivering these lines. Yeah, so it actually felt like a real thing. And then it very much over time became more than a real thing, became a better thing. Yeah.
Well, Monty, I know that you're busy, so I'll only ask you 2 more questions. So the first one is, as your time at Rooster Teeth has gotten a little bit more complicated, more busy on other projects, what's been one of the weirdest moments that you've had there?
I think there was a day I was working. It might have been like 9 a.m. I actually, there was a lot of days where I would work 5 to 9 because I would work better when no one else is there. So as soon as everyone left, I'd show up. As soon as everyone showed up, I'd left. But there was one day, there's a lot of days where I'll work 5 to 1. And there was a shoot scheduled that day, and I'm working, and I look to my left, and Gus is getting oiled up in mayonnaise. Because it was the short with Mini Gus.
Right.
And he was just getting mayonnaise all over his head, all over his armpits, rubbing it all over his junk, mayonnaise all up in his features. And it was like, well, Gus is really getting mayoed up. and it stank like crazy. Because Gus is a warm person, in bodily temperature, because he's got all the fur and the Mexican. And it's just like I'm smelling mayoed Mexican to my left, and this is kind of weird. But then the shoot started, and it's like, oh, I get it. He's mayoed up, and it's like he was because of the Mini Gus, and he just showed up he was in a can of mayonnaise. Right. That was weird. I mean, it was very appropriate. It didn't faze me, whatever. I was just like, oh, okay, that's happening. That happens a lot. Random things. Right. Yeah.
Nice. And then my last question is, while you've been at Rooster Teeth, what was one moment where, when you look back on it, you go, that you know that you're in the right place?
Well, mostly because, I'll be working. It'll be like 3 a.m. We were like, it's nice and it's quiet, and I'm just like, I'm on a scene, and it just happens on its own. And then, people come in and are like, how did this happen? What is this thing that you've created? And it's just like, it just happened. It happened because you let me make it happen. I wouldn't be able to make it any other way. This is my job. I can do it. Other jobs, I'd be making cool things, and then I'd go home and make cool things, and it wouldn't always be the best situation because it's like they'd see all this effort. Like at Midway, I made Dead Fantasy 2, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. Why is it in the game? Why isn't your cool stuff in the game we're making? And I'm like, you're not making it possible for me. We're in PowerPoint stage of this project. You're just thinking high level stuff. You're telling me we're going to get to the cool stuff in 3 years. I want to make the cool stuff now. And Rooster Teeth lets you make the cool stuff right now. They don't bar me in any way. They promote it, and it's very encouraging. That's the biggest problem with games, and it's like I would refuse to let that happen with our game development, because if Jordan has an idea, I'll work with him on it, versus I'll say, someday this will be good. That was a lot of what game development was. It's like, someday this will be a good thing. Versus Rooster Teeth, it's like, let's make this good thing now. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No problem.
Again, this has been Mike Hughes with Examiner.com here at RTX 2014 with Mr. Monty Oum. So keep it classy.